Stocks are the key ingredients and the starting point for many recipes. There's chicken stock, veal stock, fish stock, etc., various types. And they're for the most part pretty easy to make, and fish is possibly the easiest one of them all. What you're going to need for this is 4 pounds at least or more of fish parts. It's mostly heads and spines. If you break down fish yourself, then you can save them in your freezer and you'll use them for this. In a lot of cases, you can go to your fish monger or sometimes the better markets, the better supermarkets will have a fish section where they break down fish that comes in whole. If you tell them in advance, they can hold them for you. And they'll sell them. I mean, you got to pay for them, but you should be able to get them. Because they're in the pot they go, and I'm going to add various herbs and aromatics. Now, I don't waste trimmings when I cook, and I freeze them. And so what I've got here, for example, onions. These are ends of onions that I had, and when I use the onion, I save the end and I throw it in the freezer. Similar, I've got some carrots maybe that I didn't use. Carrot tops are great. Any kind of a thing like that. I got some parsley stems. I've got some bits of celery that I just didn't use. The ends, you save those. I've got some fennel, like the core part of a piece of fennel. Maybe a stem. I got some thyme here, so I'll throw some thyme in. What else we got? We got a couple of bay leaves. So let's throw some bay leaves in. And we're going to throw in some peppercorns and some fennel seed. Now, don't worry about the amounts, okay? You're going to make this stock. It'll be fine. Now, one thing you noticed I didn't throw in there was salt. So why don't I put salt in stock? Well, when you use stock in a recipe, you are going to, in many cases, reduce it. You don't want to have salt in there. If you reduce a liquid that seems fine in salt content, as you reduce it, the salt doesn't burn off, it doesn't boil off, it just gets saltier and saltier. So the stock, you don't want any salt in your stock. You will add salt to your recipe when you use the stock. So take my advice and don't put any salt in your stock. All right, so what I'm going to do then, that's pretty much everything, and I'm just going to fill this pot with cold water. And you say, well, why cold water? By the way, you notice the fish heads were still frozen when I throw them in here, and that's fine. The reason for cold is that I want to make sure I extract the gelatin, which is a lot of the flavor, from the fish parts. And in order to do that, I want to start it in cold water and slowly bring it up to temperature. Because if I put boiling water and I throw those heads in there, rather than extracting the gelatin, I could be sealing the bones and the parts. I could be sealing the gelatin inside by cooking the outside too quickly. So that's what I want to do. What I'm going to do now simply is I'm going to bring this up to temperature and I'm going to let it simmer. I'll bring it up to temperature. I'm going to let it simmer for about an hour. And at a low simmer, if the level of the water starts going down, I'm going to add some water. This is basically going to be it, but we will come back and I'll show you a few other things you have to do once the stock is finished. Okay, so now it's been a while. I had brought this up to a simmer relatively quickly. I turned it down and it simmered for about an hour. And what I need to do now, I've got it over here, is I'm going to remove all of the big stuff. And I'm just going to do that as efficiently as possible. I got tongs. I've got, oh, those fish heads are falling apart. I've got this is a nice little straining thing. So I'm going to get all this stuff out of here. And I've got all the gelatin out of the bones, and I've got a really nice stock in here. Let's set that all out. Now, I do need now, once I've gotten that all out, I still need to strain it. So what I've done is I've gotten a tammy. This is a tammy. And what I did is I put multiple layers of cheesecloth in here and put it together. I put it together with a rubber band to hold it in place. And I'm going to just kind of snap that on this bowl here. And I'm going to take this stuff out and strain it. I'm going to take it out with a scoop here. And there's a reason for that, which is if I dump it, the thing that's going to happen if I dump it is all of the stuff, the little bits that have settled to the bottom, are going to come up. And yeah, the cheesecloth will strain it out, but why, why go through all of that? So this process is going to take a little time. I'll just finish straining it. And what I'll do with it, once it's strained, I'll let it cool down a little bit. I will put it in small containers, usually 1-cup containers, and then put it in the freezer. And this way, if I need more than 1 cup, I'll take multiple containers, but you don't have to use more than a cup. That's a pretty typical amount, or at least for us, when we're here. So that's pretty much it. I just want to have a little word. I mentioned all the different stocks there are that get used, chicken stock, veal stock. I just wanted to say a little word about vegetable stock, because sometimes people get confused. All right, there's really no such thing as vegetable stock. Okay, stock is a process of removing gelatin from bones. Stock is made from bones. When you're not using that, what you have is a broth. So there's no reason not to do it. If you're a vegetarian or you just want a vegetable thing, just make a vegetable broth. But don't get confused by the labels in the, in the stores when you see these various things on the shelves that it might say vegetable stock. It's just basically a broth. Okay, so thanks very much, and we'll be back next time.